The Hong Kong 100k takes place this weekend, so I figured I'd give it a quick preview as it's the first race in the newly formed World Trail Majors series. Since my last video, where I covered some concerns I had about the series, it looks like they've mostly been addressed. Literally the day after I posted that video, the prize purse was announced. And from the perspective of someone who has no idea how it compares to UTMB sponsor bonuses, it looks pretty decent. And my other concern about top level pros getting on board also looks to have been alleviated, as in this race we have one of the biggest names in the sport, who I'll get onto in a moment, and then the next two races also look stacked. Black Canyon is always super competitive, and then at Gran Canaria, we'll see Jim Walmsley and Zach Miller go head to head once again. Back to this race. The Hong Kong 100k sees runners take on sandy beaches, technical coast paths, Hong Kong's highest peaks, and everything in between. Coming in at just over 5,300 metres of elevation, it's a super challenging course. Before I get into the contenders, I'll admit I'm not super familiar with the top runners and the other races in Asia, so it's hard to give a really in-depth preview, but I'll do my best to flag some of the runners I recognise, and that'll hopefully give you an idea of who to keep an eye on. It looks like there's going to be a good live stream as well, so before we all tune in on Saturday, let me know in the comments below if I've missed anyone that I should be watching. Let's jump into it. It looked like we were due to have a Western States podium sitter in both fields, but unfortunately Esther Sillag has dropped out with a virus. But on the men's side we still have that big name I mentioned in the intro, Tyler Green. Tyler finished second at Western States last year and then showed his incredible versatility, which he'll need on a course like this, to finish 7th at UTMB, completing the difficult Western States UTMB double, which although Courtney Dauwalter makes winning both look easy, it's still incredibly rare for a runner to top 10 at both in a single season. He's then recently been named in the top 10 of both Free Trails Trail Runner of the Year and Ultra Running Magazine's Ultra Runner of the Year for 2023. I think he's definitely the favourite, and I'd love to see him run aggressively like he did at Western States last year and take control of this race early. But typically we see Tyler race methodically, pacing himself well and then picking runners off in the back half, so don't be too surprised if you see him hanging back early on. One person I don't expect to be starting slowly, and apologies in advance as this is where my name pronunciations get a bit ropey, is Zhaju Zhao, who was the runner who led the pack over the escarpment at Western States last year. He then continued to hold on to that lead for the opening quarter of the race before blowing up and DNFing. He's also the winner of Ultra Trail Mount Fuji in Japan, Doi Imphanon by UTMB out in Thailand, and has an 11th place at CCC, and most importantly, came second at this race last year. I'm excited to see him race again, and I think he's going to be my pick for the win. If anything, just as a fantasy free trail differential to try and bag myself an early advantage in the rankings, as I think most people will be picking Tyler for the win. But given his experience on the course and racing in this part of the world, I'm willing to bet against the favourite. And this is where things get a little bit more tricky for me, as there's not many other big names jumping out. I've been through more than 20 of the top ITRA ranked guys, and I'm mainly seeing great performances at Chinese races that I just don't know enough about. Apologies for my ignorance, but a few stood out. Firstly, last year's winner, Pei Kuan Yu, is returning, as is last year's third place finisher, Guangmin Deng, who also has a top 20 at UTMB. And then there's the Hoka sponsored pair of Guangfu Meng and Zhai Juo. Meng has a top 10 at OCC last year, as well as a 5th place at this race, and Zhai Juo finished just behind him in 6th last year, and then went on to finish 14th at UTMB, followed by an impressive win at Doi Imphanon. On the women's side, with Esther Sillag withdrawing, I'm afraid I don't know a great deal about the remaining women in this field, which I really apologise about, as I always try and provide equal coverage of both fields. Again, I've gone digging through the results of the women who will be towing the start line, and I'll quickly run over some notable performances. But let me know in the comments if there's any women in particular that I should be watching, or if you're aware of any of the racing styles of these ladies. Last year's winner is absent, but second place, Anna Lee, is returning. Anna raced 21 times last year, mostly in China, but along with that second place here in Hong Kong, she also finished 34th at CCC, and then second at Doi Imphanon. Last year's third place, Qin Lu, is also returning. There's not many other races on her resume, and they're nearly all in China, so I don't know much about the difficulty of those fields, but she's won all but one of them, so clearly a fierce competitor. Hong Kong local Hong Koo Kimi Lung came 6th last year, has a top 10 at Doi Imphanon and a top 50 at UTMB back in 2019, plus that home field advantage. And then finally there's ultra athlete Yuang Wu, who came 7th last year and then followed that up with a 2nd place at UTMB Andorra, a 5th place at Val d'Aran in Spain, and then 3rd place at Doi Imphanon in Thailand. Making her my pick for this race, but based on very little, so take that with a pinch of salt. And that's all I've got for the women's field, I'm afraid. As I said, Let me know if I've missed anyone obvious, as I still need a 5th pick for my fantasy free trail picks. And hopefully the commentators on the day will give us plenty of information about these leading ladies, and it will be a fun one to follow. That's it for this quick preview. Hope it's helped give you a few names to look out for. Please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know your picks in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with more ultra running content. Cheers.